Hi guys, Chris here, the Ultimate Recycler. A bonus video for you today. We went to a table tennis tournament just Saturday, just gone, and we had to fill in some time. So I thought, let's go to some op shops or charity shops or thrift stores, depending where you're from, and fill in a bit of time. So I just did a little bit of spot filming around the place, and I'll add a bit of commentary, and it gives you a bit of a look at Australian op shops. And the prices weren't too bad. I was a little bit surprised. They had a good range of stuff. I thought you might enjoy a look around. There was 3 or 4 of them all in the one spot, and we had a few hours between events at the tournament, so that's why we're dressed in our sports gear. So we went for a walk. Come along with us and just enjoy a bit of a browse. I'd like to point out we did not buy anything because we're closing up our shop and we do not need more stock, but there may well be future op shop challenges and shopping once we get everything sorted out. We'll still be always looking for a treasure, won't we? Okay, let's go for a bit of a walk and see what we... So I just strung a heap of clips together because I couldn't film all the time. It was quite busy and crowded and I didn't want to get in people's faces with the camera. The first one was, I think it was Vinnie's or St Vincent's, and it was huge. I hadn't been to, well, I haven't been to too many op shops this size. It was quite well laid out. It was clean and neat and well presented. Everything was priced. There's a nice retro canisters there. I think they wanted $10 each for those. There's a nice ruby red glass vase here. Probably fairly modern. I think they had $10 and it had a 50% off sticker. It might have been 15, but it did have a chip on it. So look, we weren't buying, but that's the sort of thing that draws my eye. There's a little pottery thing here that I thought may have been 60s era studio pottery, but it wasn't. It was quite modern. There wasn't very much old stuff at all in this place, but it was, as I said, it was presented very well. This jug and bowl is a classic sort of 1980s reproduction sort of, you know, look of the old wash jugs and bowls. And I think it had a sticker underneath from, I think it was Aussie made, but it was probably 1980s or 90s. Some of them were even like a home pottery thing. That's not a bad English gravy jug, and I think I forget the price on that now. You might have just seen it. Things were fairly well priced. This is a 50s era jug and glass set. There's only 3 glasses left. Obviously never used much though, because they've still got all their gold on them, the little gold trim. I think it was made in Czechoslovakia from the sticker. They had them priced separately, but I think $10 on that jug. I would probably get 25 in the shop for it, but yeah, as I said, we're not buying, we were just filling in time. They even had a bit of furniture in this place, and again, it was fairly reasonably priced. There's some Edwardian dining chairs here. What were they, $30 each, I think? A little bit wobbly, but that's around about what I'd sell them for. So I thought that was quite reasonable. A Queen Anne style little coffee table here, probably 1960s, maybe 50s or 60s. And lots of other furniture, retro sort of coffee table there, maybe 70s era. And an extension table here with a couple of chairs. The chairs were priced separately at $20 each. I think the table was $80. And if you're setting up a house, that's actually pretty good value. But tables I find are very difficult to sell these days. We don't do anything with furniture anymore. I always get drawn towards clocks, but I think every clock I saw in all the shops were all modern ones. There's a TV there, and it was nice to see them selling electrical stuff. They obviously have someone that tests and tags them, and I think what did they have on that, 45 was it? So not too bad, if it gets all the channels, I guess. There's another one here. So it's good to see them at least trying to sell the electrical stuff. There's some old speakers here, which, well, not that old, but the covers were very tatty. They looked like they'd been shredded by a cat. So this is in a suburb called Kilsyth, which is about 30 kilometres east of Melbourne CBD. And that's where our tournament was, just up the street. There's a nice antique wardrobe here, sitting on a blanket box drawer. It was pretty rough. The next one down the street, these were all in a row. The next one was the Brotherhood of St Laurence, which we don't have out in the country so much. It's more what you'd find in the cities. And again, this was quite a large establishment, well laid out, lots of people too. It was quite busy. This was Saturday morning, around about 10ish I think, so it was very busy. In fact, we struggled to get a park, but they're all in huge places. I don't know how they go covering a lease on these places. They must turn over a lot of stock. They do, obviously, by their very nature, charity shops, and they do raise money for charities, but they have pretty high overheads in some of these big places in a shopping strip. There's a fair bit of English stuff. This plate was quite nice, but none of it I was really going to buy, because if I'm buying, there's a Alicia pottery jug. It's probably 1970s. It's Australian pottery, and a retro painting here, Chinese formula style, probably 1970s. I think they had 45 on that from memory. Not too bad a price. I would have had probably a bit more on that one. So yeah, I forget what I was saying. They obviously have to make a profit for their charity, but have large overheads. But it's good that they provide an outlet for all this stuff. It stops a lot of it going into the waste stream, of course. And as I said earlier, with the electrical stuff, it's good to see that they're doing their bit and trying to keep that out of the waste stream. Lots of just general kitchen stuff. And you know, if you are setting up a house and you're trying to save every cent you can, you could pretty well do all your shopping at these places. Here's a lot of electrical appliances they had, and they've all got safety tags on them, and the prices were pretty good on those. They were only, you know, $10, $15, the sort of prices I put on my e-waste when I sell it. So it was all very realistic, and I'm sure they do move a lot of stock. So Christine's wandered off somewhere else in this one. It was, again, a really big place. They have a lot of clothing too. We don't really look at the clothing. This is the Selvos, so another one, the third shop in a row, and much the same again. Now with the clothing, I know there are some YouTubers that live full-time off eBay, and they mainly do clothing. I'm sure there's a lot of eBayers and treasure hunters that frequent these shops quite regularly, and you know, they obviously, well, they probably do quite well. I'm sure the people that manage, the team that manage these places have researchers, and they would no doubt check out as much as they can. They obviously want to make the best profits they can. They wouldn't really like lots of treasures slipping through very cheaply, but of course that's what draws us to these shops, looking for a treasure that they may have missed. I think these establishments, you don't really find that. They're so well run that nothing really ever slips through. Christine was quite taken with this little table with little fold out sides. It'd make a nice little lamp table or something, but it wasn't even real timber. I think it was actually MDF, so it was quite modern, made to look old, but it was cute nonetheless. I was going to mention before with clothing, yes, they have a lot of clothing, and you can certainly do quite well being a clothing reseller. Probably one of the better areas, but you need to know it well. This looked quite a nice old piece, but it was actually very modern, so it was just a reproduction. I forget what price they had on that, but we don't do anything with furniture anymore. But they did have, well, they've got the space in these places. I mean, if our shop was this big, we probably would do a lot with furniture. More TVs and a lot more crockery and pottery and glassware.
Of course you
there was some nice bits in this shop. I think this was actually one of the nicer shops. I was drawn straight to this vase. It looked a bit like West German pottery, but it was only a 1980s or 90s pottery class type one. It was very light, and you kind of got to scan the shelves very quickly, and it's very easy to miss stuff. And I'm sure you guys spot things on shelves and think, why didn't you pick that up? I probably didn't even see it. There was a little copper coloured coffee pot. I don't remember if I think it probably was copper, brass base. Sometimes they're copper coloured and yet they're aluminium. That would have sold alright, but I think they had a fairly high price on that one. I forget now what was on it. But yeah, a lot of stock in here. You wonder how quickly it turns over, whether the shop actually have a strict turnover regime where they mark things with dots, and if they're older than a month they get discounted. I know some places are fairly strict with that, and it's a good way of keeping fresh stock in your shop and getting rid of things that have sat for a while or maybe even got broken. Christine found a little, I don't know what you call that, little display of something. She was thinking of using it in the shop to put her little bags on, so she did actually buy that. I think it was $4. So that's the only thing we bought for the morning. I kept saying to her, well, myself and Christine as we were walking around, don't buy anything, don't buy anything. We've got to get rid of our stock. We're not going to add to it. A lot more furniture in this place. coffee tables, lounge suites, and all pretty good. They looked nice. There was no junk, there was no rubbish. And there's a shelf there to the right that I do flick back on here and thought, that'd be good to put boom boxes on, but nope, it won't fit in the car.
Won't fit in the car.
And there were some more speakers and electrical stuff, fans, appliances. I was very pleased to see this because I know our local shop and most small country town shops that have volunteers don't do electrical, and that's why I've been picking up stuff from our shop. But it's nice that at least in the bigger centres they do move a lot of it on. There's an egg poacher that I've got a similar one for sale at the moment. I think that one was $9 and I've got mine for sale for only $5, so there you go. A nice display cabinet here at the front, and there was a ginger beer bottle which grabbed my attention, but that's only a 1980s reproduction. And all the clocks, as I said, were very modern. There was no old clocks at all. They were reasonably priced, but nothing that I wanted. Now the fourth shop, are we up to the fourth one? This was, I forget what this one was. I couldn't quite read the sign looking at it there. And it again had lots of the same sort of stuff. The similar stuff you'd see in charity shops, crockery, clothing, lots of clothing. Actually, this was a nicer one. This had some quite nicer older pieces.
Interesting.
And it makes me wonder when a family are cleaning out an estate, how they choose which shop to give it to, given that there's 4 shops in a row. This piece was, I think, $19 from memory. It's probably quite modern, but a nice heavy piece of art glass. And the red one here did look very much like Whitefriars glass, which is English, but I think it said made in China on the bottom.
Made in China.
But still, it still sells quite well, but yeah, we weren't. Actually, this one was a bit dearer on some of those things. There's a 60s era water set. There was lots more crockery in this one, or at least it was, the shelves were a lot more full and colour-coded a bit. Most op shops tend to, maybe there's a colour coding course that all the volunteers go to. This looked English, but it was actually Japanese, but quite old, probably 1950s era. And that does sell quite well. I think I had to drop the volume, the background volume here quite a bit because there was music playing, and we've got to be careful of copyright strikes on the videos. Some shops do have quite a lot of loud music playing, and others just the normal bustle of all the customers is enough noise. We like to have a radio playing in our shop, but you got to be careful if you're filming, of course. That was a bamboo piece, probably from the 50s or 60s. So there was a good selection of older stuff in this shop, and there's another fairly modern, smaller size wash jug and bowl. What else was in this one? Oh, Christine found this really nice art glass vase, very heavy. I think it was a modern one, but it would suit a retro place, and you would still get pretty good dollars for that, even though it's quite modern. Lots of other stuff here. There's a lamp base. It's missing the burner, but that's a 1970s one. It's got a screw-on ferrule there where the burner goes in. I do have a lot of lamps to fix up, but I didn't want a 1970s one. If it had been an older one, I might have nearly bought that. This piece looked older, but it had made in China, dishwasher safe, microwave safe, all that stuff you see written on modern stuff. If you ever pick up a jug and it says dishwasher or microwave underneath, or any piece of crockery for that matter, you know it's not old. Yeah, but it was an interesting one. This shop had a slightly better vintage feel to it. So I mentioned earlier, I think these are in Kilsyth. I forget the road they're on. The stadium's on Liverpool Road, so just up from there. It's a fairly major road. And having 4 shops in a row would be great. If we lived nearby and we were dealing, we would pop in here all the time. This was the single best piece I saw for the morning. It's a planet lamp, 1960s era, but they had $250 on it. So obviously the people that were pricing were well aware that those lamps are very collectible. $250 I thought would have been a little bit dear. I probably would have sold it for about $200, but maybe they've gone up in price. I haven't checked them recently. Lots more clothing, lots more bric-a-brac, bits and pieces. The only thing I didn't see much of that we do really well out of our shop is shed stuff, tools and that sort of stuff. This place is called Hidden Gems. This wasn't a charity shop. This was a little bit of everything shop, and they actually hire out their shelving units for people that do craft work. Christine found a little bag here with dogs on it. There's one looks like Coco in the middle. And the lady we spoke to actually said if you want to hire a shelf or a cabinet to put some of your stock down here, we can work on a commission, and you've got to pay a little higher fee for your shelf. But I don't think we'll bother doing that, given that it's about 2 hours drive for us. But there was lots of homemade stuff as well, or when I say homemade, I mean crafty stuff, and jewellery and also there was even some new stock as well. So there's a bit of everything in here. Picture frames, clothing. I think the clothing was vintage stuff, and they're obviously all different stalls and all different.
What's that?
People have their own displays. Christine found this bag, which is I've got to send her this clip because she might make something like this. It's like a book bag with spots for pencils on the outside. So she said, come over here and film this so that I can remember what it looks like when we get home.
With pencils in the front.
So there we go. That was an interesting shop, and we managed to fill in about an hour looking round. And I'm pleased to say that out of all that stuff we looked at, I did not open my wallet once. I did not buy a thing. Christine only got those little zigzag stand things for use in the shop. But it was a way to fill in time. It's fun. It's always good looking around those shops. And in the future, we may well do some op shop, charity shop, treasure hunts. We've done them before. We had a bit of a challenge a few years back on a trip, and we filmed it. It's a bit difficult to do commentary while I'm walking around in those places because they're so busy. In the smaller country town op shops, you can do that. So I hope the voiceover was okay. I felt a little bit rushed at times, and I kept forgetting what I was going to say, but bear with me. I hope you enjoyed the browse, and we'll just call this a little bonus video for you. Let me know in the comments, so if you want to see more of this sort of stuff, once the shop's all tidied up and we've got rid of all our clutter and pressure, we may well do some more trips and holidays, and we'll take you op shopping with us. So let us know. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.